Well, it's Mother's Day, which I love because it focuses our attention not only on the moms who raise us, but also, if you know the holiday's origin story, on the power of women not merely to change the world, but to raise its level of consciousness. However, Mother's Day, which began as a powerful women's peace and healthcare movement, has become yet another Hallmark moment, a holiday filled with that soft glow, filtered approach to life. And unfortunately, that lends itself to somewhat dishonest, even dangerous, unattainable expectations, making it all too easy for us to blur the lines between reality and fantasy. Too many people think some magical Santa leprechaun is going to come around and make it all work out in the end. But I can't blame Hallmark and Netflix and the rest of the dime store hacks for our disconnect from the present reality, because humans have been hallmarking things into the soft glow of obliviousness since time began. It was not always like this, though. Mother's Day has its origins not as a holiday, but as a social movement. Mother's Day began in the mid-1800s as a response to rampant, devastating outbreaks of measles, diphtheria, and typhoid, and a ludicrously high infant mortality rate, especially in Appalachia. The activist trailblazer Anne Reeves Jarvis, Mother Jarvis to the Appalachian folk, was painfully aware of the ravages of disease at the time. She birthed somewhere between 11 and 13 children over a mere 17 years, and only 4 of those survived into adulthood, which was an unfortunately common experience at the time. The horrible situation inspired her to organize Mother's Day work clubs to educate mothers about hygiene. These volunteer work groups also provided a plethora of social and nursing services to the women of the area. They raised money to buy medicine and to hire women to assist families suffering from debilitating health issues. During the Civil War, when Virginia split in two, the Mother's Day work clubs in West Virginia stayed neutral. They helped both Union and Confederate soldiers, feeding, clothing, and nursing them back to health. Not as enemies, not really even as friends, but simply profoundly as human beings serving other human beings. After the war, Jarvis hosted a Mother's Friendship Day to bridge barriers and heal the war's wounds. The event was held at the Taylor County Courthouse with soldiers and families from both sides of the war in attendance. Jarvis planned and organized the entire event, and the band played both Dixie and the Star-Spangled Banner. The celebration ended with everyone singing Old Lang Syne. In the book Memorializing Motherhood and Jarvis and the Struggle for Control of Mother's Day, Catherine Antolini writes, based on news reports of the time, that this effective and emotional event reduced many people to tears. It showed the community that old animosities were destructive and must end. Well, about the same time in Boston, Julia Ward Howe, a well-known poet and reformer, was calling for a Mother's Day of Peace to celebrate peace and to eradicate war. In 1870, as the Franco-Prussian War foreshadowed the century of conflict about to explode in Europe, Howe penned an incredible opinion piece titled "Putting Down Murder, an appeal to womanhood throughout the world," in which she excoriates men for their warlike ways and powerfully preaches for a Congress of women to stand together as a barrier to war. She writes, "Arise, Christian women throughout the land. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether baptized in water or tears. Say it firmly. We will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands shall not come to us, reeking with carnage, for caresses and applause. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we can teach them of charity, mercy, and patience. We, women of one country, will be too tender to those of another to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. The sword of murder is not the scale of justice." In 1872, Howe began lobbying to establish June 2nd as Mother's Peace Day, and she held several festivals throughout the late 1800s. But it wasn't really until the early 1900s that a holiday designed specifically to exalt moms and to remind us of their grassroots activism took place. It's about 3 years after Mother Jarvis died, her daughter Anne organized a memorial service on the second Sunday of May in 1908. Attended by about 400 people, Jarvis said she selected the second Sunday in May because it marked the anniversary of her mother's death, and she wanted Mother's Day to always fall on the Sabbath. Well, her celebration spread, and by 1914, President Woodrow Wilson established Mother's Day as, quote, a public expression of our love and reverence for the mothers of our country. Well, Anne worked with florists, helping them design special Mother's Day bouquets and encouraging the exchange of flowers to help raise the profile of Mother's Day. Still, by 1920, she was reportedly disgusted by the holiday's commerciality, eventually speaking out against the corporate profiteers and suing nearly an endless string of groups, including charities, using the name Mother's Day. Well, today, the progeny of those corporate profiteers advertise Mother's Day with all the gooey smells of fresh-baked apple pies cooling in the window of a quaint little Belgravian cottage. But there are also very real teeth behind that soft glow view of Mother's Day, a great roaring maw of justice, in fact, birthed by women who dared to take on the man, literally, and call out his warlike ways. Yet, despite the work of Jarvis and Julia Howe, I haven't seen a single Mother's Day card that says, don't send your sons to war, or teach compassion, not conflict, or even, Mom says, wash your hands after using the toilet, Timmy. And okay, maybe I'm being a little absurd because it's nice to take a day off from the world's troubles and just shower Mom with lots of love. But it's also worth remembering and celebrating the Jarvises and the Howes of this world because when moms organize for a cause, they provably change the world for the better. From healthcare regulations to voting rights and anti-war protests, as leaders of progressive governments worldwide, it's not only women, but often specifically mothers who lead the charge toward a more just, compassionate, and inclusive planet. It's our moms who keep us from the soft glow of oblivion. Amen. Our discussion question today is, in what ways does your mom influence your activism? Or not, I suppose. Did your mom influence your activism at all? Or if you just want to talk about the activism of moms, that's fine also. I will send you into breakout rooms for small group discussion for